Welcome back to the Titan Talk podcast. We are now here on episode 18 here. We are 1 week away from the start of free agency. Titans having the most cap space in the league. We're going to be giving our thoughts on the cuts that just happened last week with Lloyd Cushenberry and Xavier Woods, and also the trade that also happened, trading T'Vondre Sweat for Jermaine Johnson from the Jets. We're also going to be giving our thoughts from the NFL Combine from this past week on what we think of the top prospects coming out of that. And we're going to give our final full thoughts on free agency and the players that are expected to hit the market and players that the Titans most likely won't bring back. And we're going to get things started now. Now, getting into our thoughts on the cuts, you know, the Titans cut Lloyd Cushenberry and the center, and then safety Xavier Woods this past week. From what I've seen, Cushenberry, that was a thing they cut him because he failed his physical and he couldn't get back for next season. And Woods, that was just a cap move, I believe. But what's your thoughts on getting rid of Cushenberry and Woods?
Well, we'll start with Xavier Woods. He was a nobody to begin with. I mean, he was a somebody, don't get me wrong, but he's old. He's not the player he once was. I think you could have saw this one coming from a mile away. Now, the Lloyd Cushenberry cut, that's interesting. Because Lloyd Cushenberry had some hype around him coming into the season last year. You know, he was one of the biggest, hottest free agent signings in the league for an offensive lineman. And he just disappointed. You know, seriously, he was not good. He struggled to stay healthy. Once again, Nate just mentions he fails his physical. So it's not like necessarily the Titans are cutting this guy just for cap. The Titans also are cutting this guy because he's not performing the way he should. And I'm completely fine and accepting of both of these cuts. I do hope there's some more guys to get cut too pretty soon.
Yeah,
Calvin Ridley.
I agree with your takes on all of those there. I think they were the right move. At first, I didn't like the Cushenberry cut, but looking more into free agency, we'll get into that here in a bit. I think there are way better players available if we can get this one guy I'm thinking of. But
and L'Jarius Sneed, how is he still on the roster?
Yeah,
how has he not been cut yet?
I think I've seen if it's a post June 1st designation cut, then we'll save $5 or $6 million more. So maybe that's what they're waiting for.
Oh, heck yeah, we can wait till June, get that guy off the roster.
Yeah, save some more money. But yeah, I also agree with Ridley. I think we should trade him, honestly. I think we could get some value out of him, maybe a third, maybe a fourth out of a wide receiver needy team like the Saints or Jets, someone like that. But
you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, let's not cut Calvin Ridley.
I wouldn't hate keeping him either.
Yeah, you know, you've convinced me, Nate. I don't mind keeping Calvin Ridley. The thing is that was his worst season by far. But you know the game that he got hurt and he was doing good. He had done good a couple of games. He's not a horrible receiver. You obviously know his talent that he brings. It's just that last season was by far his worst in his NFL career. But here's the good thing about the Titans. The Titans have the most cap room in the NFL right now. They're set up great in the future seasons, even better than this season. And they still got more guys to cut this season to save them more money. So hate on the general managers if you want to in Titans history, but somehow, some way, because of all the bad players we have gotten, we have unbelievable amounts of money. The problem is we're going to have to convince guys to come here.
Yeah, I agree if you said about Ridley. I mean, I would be okay if we kept him, honestly, but because he worked with Brian Daboll in Alabama. Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator when Calvin Ridley was there. He's already said he's excited to work with Calvin, which makes me think he might stay. But here or there, I could care less if we keep him or trade him or cut him because, I mean, I think you could get a wide receiver as his caliber in free agency that we're about to talk about. But now we're going to give our thoughts on the Combine happened this past week. We're going to give our thoughts on the Jeremiyah Love news that came out last week and last weekend, and then also our thoughts on Carnell Tate and Mekhi Lemon and a couple of the top prospects, and we're going to talk about that right now. Now, getting into our thoughts on the Combine, we're going to touch on a couple of the top prospects that the Titans are rumored to be interested in. We're going to start off with wide receiver Carnell Tate. He didn't have the greatest of showings out there from what I've seen. He ran a 4.53 40-yard dash, and we're kind of needing a speedy receiver. There's a couple guys we can get in free agency that I think would be better than that. But what's your thoughts on Carnell Tate at the Combine?
I don't think Carnell Tate's going to fall to us in the pick that we would get in the second round. Like, I don't think there's any chance maybe that, in a way, because I don't think the Titans are reaching on Carnell Tate at 4. I don't think we're trading back to 15 and picking up Carnell Tate either if he's there. This is good news to the Tennessee Titans because I still think Carnell Tate is a good wide receiver. So if he falls to the second round and the Titans are sitting there, I would absolutely love to pick him up. But here's what I'm going to say about the Combine stats. I think the biggest thing about the NFL Combine every year is having the opportunity for the general managers and stuff to meet these guys. Take a look back at last year with Shadur Sanders. You obviously saw Shadur Sanders' character and how it's just a plague, which is why the teams passed on him all throughout the draft until the Browns finally had to pick him up just because of his value alone. So the biggest thing about the Combine is these guys are actually getting tested in a professional environment for the first time to see their character and their personality. And I think that's what the Titans really need to take out of this to make sure we don't get another Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah, like you mentioned about character, I've seen multiple reports come out this past weekend that Mekhi Lemon had tanked all of his interviews, that some people are projecting him to fall in the second, which is kind of surprising to me just considering his skill level that he played in college and how quick he is. You know, he did not participate in the Combine, which he is, I think, one of the fastest receivers in the draft. But if he falls to the second, I wouldn't mind picking him up just based off of his talents alone. What's your thoughts on that?
The idea that picking these guys up whenever they fall to the second round is, I don't know. The way he acted at the Combine, the way you're describing him, Nate, do you really want him on your team at all?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now, Titans got the money. The idea of drafting a rookie wide receiver, it's sort of starting to leave a sour taste in my mouth so far this year. We've got young receivers. We've got Alec Ayermanner. We've got Shamiri DK. We've got young guys on this team who play the wide receiver. Quiet, please. Snip, snip. We've got... Sorry. Can we quit talking about this guy? Anyway, we've got young wide receivers on this football team that can play meaningful minutes. I think if we're going to go get a wide receiver, we need to go get someone in free agency, a guy who is a veteran in the league who can play and go ahead and develop.
I agree. I mean, if you look at the future drafts, like next year, if we somehow sadly are in the top 5 again, if that happens, I wouldn't mind if, let's say we're picked 3, 4, I wouldn't mind trading up to get that top pick because you know who's available next year, right? Jeremiah Smith.
But he didn't play too good this season, Nate, so I don't know. His draft capital might go down if he has another bad season.
I think regardless, I think that's the guy we should take next year. But here or there, I think.
What about the old Alabama cat?
Oh, Ryan Williams?
Ryan Williams.
You think he's going to be in the draft?
No way.
Because I think he's too young.
He's still
like,
younger than us, isn't
yeah,
he?
he's like 19, 18.
He'll be a couple years, but he's looking really good.
He's being listed to be in that draft. So, I mean, if he is, then I think either of those guys, I think they should target. But moving into the last couple of guys we're going to mention here, we got reports coming out of Combine weekend that apparently the Titans higher-ups, all the higher-ups think that Jeremiah Love is the best player in the draft this year, which, you know, he had a pretty good Combine stats. He ran a 4.36. It was the quickest out of any of the running backs this year. And he showed in Notre Dame his skill level, and I would not be disappointed if we take him with the 4th overall pick this year.
Listen, we've been saying it since before the bye week. I still think that Ruben Bain is the best pick right now for the Titans, but we've been saying it for a long time at this point, even since before the bye week, how much the Titans could use Jeremiah Love. If we draft Jeremiah Love at 4, I'm not going to be depressed. I'm not going to be unexcited. I'm not going to sit here and complain. If we draft Jeremiah Love at 4, I'm going to be excited. I think the thing is, though, is the Titans have an interesting situation at running back with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Do they want to go up and get Jeremiah Love? Because running back is not the biggest need on this team. Mm-hmm. So the question is, do they value Jeremiah Love as the best running back in this draft class, or do they value Jeremiah Love as a generational running back talent like a Bijan Robinson? That's the question right there, and it's for people who make a lot more money than me to decide.
Yeah, that's a big topic of just talking about it. You know, they've had honestly, I wouldn't hate it, but like you mentioned, like it's not our biggest need, right? We have Tony Pollard, we have Tajay Spears, guys who can still get the job done at this league. And again, I wouldn't be disappointed, but I don't know. I think we should more draft towards our needs, but I would not be totally disappointed. Guys like our needs getting into now. Edge David Bailey, who competed in this combine, who did a lot of the things they had to do there. He apparently ran a 4.5 40-yard dash and a vertical jump of 35 and a broad jump of 10.9. And I think he improved his stock in the draft of this combine. I think David Bailey is far and away the better prospect than Ruben Bain. I know that's not a likely take there, but just watching his film and watching what he's done in the combine, I think David Bailey is the better edge rusher than Ruben Bain going into the 2026 draft.
Texas Tech played Oregon. Don't remember who this guy is. But when Miami played Ohio State, the whole world learned who Ruben Bain was. That's the thing. Ruben Bain, he is battle-tested. I won't completely disagree with that. I feel like Ruben Bain is kind of being ignored or sort of shunned for being the most obvious guy, sort of a dull pick, a guy who isn't this spectacular prospect, this, that, and the other. There's more interesting guys. Listen, Aiden Hutchinson, he was that same way. Who they pick over him? Trayvon Walker? Because Trayvon Walker was more interesting. Trayvon Walker had what they said a higher ceiling than Aiden Hutchinson. And look, the guy who the Jaguars should have went with is the guy who's wrecking the league now. The Titans cannot make the mistake of not drafting Ruben Bain, which is why I think we have to draft Ruben Bain. David Bailey, I'm sure he's good, Nate. I'm sure he's going to be a good talent in the NFL. But I think that seriously, Ruben Bain has the opportunity to elevate himself to like a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett, that sort of ability, an absolute game breaker like a Max Crosby. I think he has that name that he can have in the NFL. I don't think we can pass up on him. It's the boring pick, but it's the right pick.
Just how you mentioned Max Crosby, we're going to get into that just in a little bit. I actually forgot about that, but I wouldn't be disappointed if we get Bain. I wouldn't be thrilled. I wouldn't be disappointed. I think it's a pick. It's a good pick, but I think you could do better, but I would not be totally disappointed. Now we're going to get into our final thoughts on free agency going forward. Next week, we got tons of news going on around the league as the past couple of days that George Pickens is officially franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys. Breece Hall officially franchise tagged by the New York Jets. And earlier today, Alec Pierce is likely to hit the free agent market, is going into free agency, as well as Kenneth Walker is also likely to hit the market. What's your thoughts on free agency? Who do you want the Titans to pick up and who do you not want them to pick up?
I'd love Alec Pierce, but the way that people are talking about his price, golly. Titans are going to pay a hefty penny if they want him. And none of those other guys are really surprising me. Like, yeah, I knew George Pickens was going to get franchise tagged. There's no way Jerry Jones is letting him walk out of Dallas without a new contract. Breece Hall. See, this is a debate that we're about to get into, the Kenneth Walker debate. Let's go ahead and have it, Nate. I do not want Kenneth Walker at all. You want to trade up or you want to trade back and see if you can get Jeremiyah Love in this draft? All right, we can try that. I'm okay with that. But I do not want Kenneth Walker coming to the Titans. At that point, I would rather keep Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's a good, serviceable running back. The difference between Tony Pollard and Kenneth Walker is nowhere near the price that we would have to pay for him in free agency. I do not want Kenneth Walker.
I completely disagree with that. I think Kenneth Walker is the right choice here. Honestly, I'd rather have him over Jeremiyah Love. I know that's a really hot take, but I think Walker, he won a team a Super Bowl. That game was him. He single-handedly won that team the Super Bowl. He carried that team. And imagine what he could do with players like Cam Ward out there, players like Wan'Dale Robinson if we sign him. But I think Kenneth Walker is a really good running back in this league, and I think it's hard to disagree with that. He's a really good running back, and he showed why in the Super Bowl and the whole entire playoff run that the Seahawks had. And if we get him for he's projected to go $12 to $13 million a year, I think that's a steal for his talent that he can live up to.
I just disagree, Nate. I don't think he's that good of a prospect. Take a look at his last year of the season. Was really not that good. Then the Seahawks went all in with an offensive line and stuff like this. And Zach Charbonnet was still a great running back. How much pressure did Zach Charbonnet take off of Kenneth Walker? I do not think Kenneth Walker is nearly as good. I think he is very, very overrated, if not the most overrated running back in the league. I don't want Kenneth Walker, not one bit.
Yeah, I disagree, but we're going to move into the next player here. We have a lot of players to get into here. Next player that the Titans are rumored to be interested in is wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson from the New York Giants. I would not hate picking him up. I don't think he's the greatest wide receiver in the world, but I think he would be a good addition to this team that's needing a target for Cam Ward.
Wan'Dale Robinson, a good slot wide receiver. I don't hate the idea of that. I don't think Alec Ayomanor is necessarily the guy who can just lock down our slot for us. I don't hate this idea at all. Wan'Dale Robinson is actually a very good free agency pick, in my opinion.
If we somehow get him. But next, we're going to talk receivers. We're going into the next wide receiver. Alec Pierce, rumored to hit the market. I think Pierce will probably be a free agent next week, and I would be thrilled if the Titans end up getting Alec Pierce and adding to that deep threat capability that Cam Ward has.
I completely agree. Alec Pierce is a great option. I will say this about Daniel Jones, though. This might be a little hot take. The Colts were collapsing before Daniel Jones got hurt. People don't realize that. People say, oh, well, you know, when Daniel Jones went down, the Colts collapsed. No. The Colts were collapsing while Daniel Jones was still playing. So I don't know that Daniel Jones is the threat that people think he is. And the Colts are probably trying to negotiate that in the contract.
He is not a really good – I was saying that all season. I think Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. I don't think he's good whatsoever. I think he's average, but I don't think he's a starter caliber quarterback. At this point, I'm hoping the Colts re-sign him. Go ahead, re-sign him. Sign him to a 6-year deal and have him be your franchise quarterback. I'll gladly like to face him 2 times every year for the next however future years we have to go with him. But next player we're going to get into is center Tyler Linderbaum, who's expected to hit free agency. Apparently he's the only capable center of starting, is what I'm hearing. So I think we should almost basically hand him a blank check and say, hey, come here to Tennessee and be Cam Ward's new center. But what's your thoughts on Linderbaum?
I like him. I think that's a guy the Titans have to try and target with their money. I absolutely love the idea of getting him.
Honestly, I think he's the number 1 target at this point. He's a guy you have to get on this list. Next guy here, he is a current Titan for the next hour at least, tight end Chig Okonkwo. I think you should try to re-sign him for the right price. I know Evan was mentioning earlier that there are other tight ends that are in free agency, like Dallas Goedert and a couple other guys. But I would like us to try to get him back, but would not be depressed if we don't get him.
I don't think we need to break the bank for Chig Okonkwo at all. I think they're, like Evan said, Dallas Goedert, I think he's a better option. Might even be cheaper, honestly. And if they're sort of the same price, I would still rather have Goddard. Think about it. Chig Okonkwo, he was very disappointing last season. Not 2025, but 2024.
Oh,
Chig Okonkwo was very disappointing. And here's the thing that I really don't like, Nate. I don't like players who have disappointing seasons or a single season, and then when it comes to the contract year, they're doing absolutely great. I'm not saying Chig Okonkwo is doing that, but that's the kind of thing that I really don't like. Chig Okonkwo's a good person, though. If we can get him back for the right price, absolutely. If not, no love lost.
I agree. Moving into the next guy, by no means is I don't want this guy back as a starter. I think he'd be a great backup. Quarterback Marcus Mariota, he's expected to hit free agency once again after 2 seasons with the Commanders. I would love to bring him back here to Tennessee, be a backup for Cam Ward, and he would be a very good quarterback to have in this room to help with the development of Cam and to pretty much steady the ship if Cam does go down later in the season.
Nope, I disagree. Not that Marcus Mariota is a bad backup quarterback to have. He's a good backup quarterback to have. We'd rather have Jameis Winston, though. But I'm living with Levis. If we're having a backup quarterback, let's get ride or die with Will Levis.
Again, I would not hate that too, but I think Levis would be good. But I honestly don't think he will be around. I think they'll try to trade him away. I think they'll wait till after preseason to kind of boost his stock up, and then I think we'll probably trade him away. I hope I'm wrong about that because I would love to have him as a backup quarterback this season, but I don't think it's likely. Next, we're going to move into a couple of the cornerbacks, defensive backs, whatever you want to call them. Tyreek Woolen from the Seahawks and Jalen Watson from the Chiefs. I think if we can get both of these guys, great. We need cornerbacks, but I think you have to get at least one of the two of these corners here.
Chiefs cornerbacks and free agency, that's a little scary. But out of the two guys, I would rather have Watson. Tariq Woolen, he's obviously got a higher ceiling, had better prime, but I don't know. It's just something behind me. He's really sort of fallen off since he was great for Seattle. But yeah, I wouldn't mind Jalen Watson. Either one of these guys for the right price, we could absolutely get them in to boost our secondary because, in my opinion, the secondary, after all the guys we traded away last year, is one of the biggest holes on this team that we have to fill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like you mentioned Woolen, how he's kind of escaping his prime. He did cost a penalty for the Seahawks. I think it was in the NFC Championship game. It was a very controversial penalty. I forgot exactly all the details on that, but I know there was a bad penalty on his part. But next we're going to get into defensive tackle John Franklin Myers, who's basically a foregone conclusion to come here with all the signs with Jermaine Johnson and him posting back and forth about coming to the Titans. I think it's going to happen. I think you can almost say 100% going to happen. But I don't hate this. I think he's a really good defensive tackle to pair with Jeffrey Simmons. The
thing is, even if he's just an okay defensive tackle, we need a guy. If he wants to come play for the Tennessee Titans, I think you give him a contract. Because I don't think there's a lot of guys who want to come play for the Tennessee Titans, and that's the kind of guy that can establish a culture. Bring on in. He's not going to be that expensive.
Yeah, and he's worked with Saleh. I think Saleh was the guy who drafted him to the Jets originally, and he also drafted Johnson, so there's already plenty of connections there for him. But next up, a couple of edge rushers. Odafe Owe from the Chargers. I think he's a really good edge rusher. Surprised the Chargers didn't try to keep him, but I would not be disappointed if we were able to. I think we should pick him up.
Depends on who we draft, absolutely. If we get Ruben Bain, do we really need this guy right there? Once again, all these lower edge guys completely depend on if we draft Ruben Bain, but once again, this guy's not that expensive. I would rather have a linebacker, though. I feel like we do need another solid linebacker to go with our team, but this is a guy, good depth piece, worst case scenario.
Another guy I'd like to mention, I didn't write him down, but linebacker Devin Bush, he's expected to be a free agent. I think that's a really good linebacker to have on this team and would not be disappointed if he's able to pick him up.
I agree. Devin Bush is the kind of guy we want to come to the Tennessee Titans. We need a linebacker. We need guys in the secondary. We need a linebacker. The defense really needs some needs this offseason.
Yeah, now getting into the final two guys I have on this list, we have another edge rusher, Jalen Phillips from the Eagles. I think he played phenomenal in that last half of the stretch in the season for the Eagles. And in the couple games into the playoffs, I think Phillips is a really good edge rusher to have.
I completely agree. Once again, this is another one of those defensive guys. Over the course of the Titans last couple of years, we saw good guys get drafted. We saw Arden Key. He's played a really good football for the Titans. We saw Nico Autry, who played really good football for the Titans. This guy can be the next one of them. I would absolutely love that free agents pick.
I agree. And the last guy I have here, it's kind of been a controversial take with his character this past season, but Juwan Jennings from the 49ers, he has connections with Saleh, but I wouldn't be disappointed if we didn't sign him. But it's okay. I mean, he's a guy to add to the weapons for Cam Ward.
Back home in Nashville, absolutely. Juwan Jennings is one of the guys on top of my list. For receivers in free agency, he is on the top. Give me Juwan Jennings.
Would you rather have Wan'Dale Robinson or Jennings? If you had to pick just one. Robinson?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been back and forth on. Especially, I think Pierce is one. Where would you put Pierce out of the three?
Pierce, he's a really good guy, but the thing about Alec Pierce is I wonder how much his talent is made possible by how good the Colts wide receiver room has been.
Especially with Pittman.
He would be the third in my option. I think he might honestly, Nate, be the most expensive from what the reports that I've been seeing.
I agree, but that's going to wrap up our thoughts on free agency. That's going to wrap up this episode of the Titan Talk podcast. Another kind of shorter episode, but next week I'm sure will be plenty of news with free agency, all that coming up, and trades. Hopefully all good, but unable to tell until Monday, and it will be just recorded a couple days before the new Titans uniform reveal. Maybe there's going to be a uniform leak. I know I've seen reports coming out of the guy who leaked the logo. He said he thinks he can leak the jerseys next week. So hopefully we see them a little early. If not, That'll be in 2 episodes from now. But yeah, excited to see the new uniforms, excited to see the new logo, excited to see all the free agent signings that we make. But we will be back next week recapping all the moves that happen next week during free agency week, and we will see y'all next time.